Good evening, one and all. Tracy, take roll.
Harrington,
Here.
Hoffman,
Here.
Pollock. She's here.
Here.
Yay. Smith,
Here.
Wason.
Here.
The agenda's ahead of you. No additions, deletions. Move to approve is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion to questions. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. Consent agenda. Any item on there you would like to talk about first?
Just a quick question, Mayor. Ryan, I saw a fire inspection that was done in person. Is that just because of the new business, or is this a new thing that we're able to get back to now in person?
It's a great question, Chris. One I also asked. No, it's not a routine. We did this under a special consideration. The new owners needed some extra guidance, as you might have been able to see from the report. So we met with them on site, and but obviously did so socially distancing ourselves. I would also add that most of those items that they failed have been corrected. Assistant Chief Harden was working with them as late as today to get things finalized. So, and talking with Chief Platts earlier today, they're comfortable moving forward. They've been really good to work with, just stepping into a building that I think there was a little more work than what they anticipated.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? A motion to approve the consent agenda be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Final questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. Kevin.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I've got a few reports for you tonight. We'll start with Forever Green Road. So staff has been spending a considerable amount of time restoring the yards and the right-of-way along Forever Green Road. This area was left in a condition that doesn't meet our normal standards or the residents' standards as you compare that to a normal city-led street project. The weather also played a factor in the poor establishment of that right-of-way, but the staff did a lot of work. They removed a lot of rocks, added topsoil, aeration and compost. Guy and Michael and their teams, I thought they did a really great job. The final restoration work will be some more overseeding in this area with a slit seeder, and that'll happen next month. It'll be a dormant seed for germination in the spring, and then staff will continue to monitor that area next year. And Ryan has also been working with the DOT for cost sharing of this extra restoration work. Related to this, we just got today, we received from the MPO speed studies for both Forever Green Road and Kansas Avenue. They're recommending increasing the speed limits for both of those streets. And we have a staff meeting tomorrow, and we'll be discussing that report. Next, St. Andrews Drive. The contractor has been out there working to finalize that project. They're working on their punch list, and they've got quite a few of the items completed. So they're making pretty good progress. Next, the Aquatic Center HVAC replacement. So that contractor is also working on their punch list. They're close to their original punch list, but you will be seeing a change order upcoming of approximately 48,000. Although that number may be lower, as there is a couple of items that were agreed to as a not to exceed time and materials. So we don't know the exact number on a couple of those items yet. And this change orders for out of scope items, such as replacing some corroded gas piping, replacing corroded dampers in the locker rooms, a new hose bib on the roof, changing out some light fixtures, and relocating a water heater. The change order would be funded approximately half from the project budget surplus, and then the other half from the rec center operating budget. Ranshaw Way Phase 5, we're turning in the check plan submittal to the DOT today, and we have a staff review meeting later this month. And we're planning for a presentation to the city council at the next meeting in October. Dubuque Street Phase 1, a second plan review has been submitted to city staff, and we've scheduled a staff review meeting also for later this month. And then lastly, I have to report on is the Ranshaw House renovation Phase 2. And that construction is proceeding well. The contractors started work right away, and they've been there the whole time. So they've been really going to town on this project. They have finished the foundation damp proofing. They've done all the site removals, and they started on the site piping actually, I think yesterday. The rec center drive off of Community Drive, that'll be closed for some piping work, and it'll be closed for about a week. They're about 95% done with the prep work for the painting. They're about 50% done with the wall plaster repair on the interior. This project also, there'll be some additional work. When they did some of the plaster repair in the interior, they uncovered some water damage that needs to be repaired. It's not too extensive, but that will have to be some extra work. And then we've also requested a cost from the contractor to replace the existing lattice on the exterior front porch with a from the existing wood to more of a maintenance-free vinyl lattice. So we're looking to see what that cost would be before we would present it to you guys. And that's all I have tonight, unless you have questions for me.
Under redoing the lattice by using vinyl, that won't hurt the status as far as a historical home?
No, it won't. Nope, we can do that. That's allowed. And it's we actually found a lattice that would almost match it exactly. It's the same exact pattern too. I know Guy and Tracy were both there, and they had a chance to look at it. And I think Guy in particular really would like this changed out. The wood is kind of starting to warp, and it doesn't look all that great.
Any questions for Kevin?
Mayor, I have a question first for Ryan. Ryan, can you just briefly go over what the agreement with the DOT is for the cost share here for the repairs?
Yeah, I can. We are still working with them. Initially, the initial agreement for the project was that they pay for 25% of this roadway. We'll likely push for more than that, and because we're doing a lot of the work ourselves, and we're actually in the process of putting a number to all the work and materials we've used, we'll present that as well as the bids for the slit seating that Kevin talked about, and push for more than the 25%. So I guess at a minimum it's 25%, but I think from our standpoint going into it with them, I think we should push at least for a little bit more, just given the fact that this was left in our hands to take care of.
And then Mayor, I would just ask Councilor Wason his opinion and what he's heard from his neighbors as far as completion and how they have agreed to it or not.
I think everybody appreciates the city kind of getting the ball going here. Has been taking a little bit of time. Talking to the DOT, and then the contractors were, those discussions were less than fruitful, shall we say. And it looks a lot better now. We hauled up chunks of concrete and asphalt that were there buried in the yards, and we'll see how the grass comes up. But a guy assures me that it will look as good as a golf course. And I said, if it looks as good as the Redfern Dog Park, I'll be happy with it.
Very good. Anything else?
One question, Mayor.
Sure.
Well, first, Brian, it's good to see you out of the hospital for once. To Kevin, with the uncovering at Ranshaw, remind me, and if you don't have it right now, that's fine too, but do we build contingency in on this current work?
That might be a question for Ryan. I'm not sure how much is budgeted on the project.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is I can speak to that, and this is a project where we had, I think, close to $160,000 set aside from a previous general fund surplus allocation, and then the remainder will have to be borrowed. So, and as we typically do, we do that after the project, so we know what kind of money we'd have to borrow to make sure it's funded. So yeah, we'll have it at the end. Obviously, we and it'll be there only if we need it.
Sure, but we did have something from a contingency standpoint, just like Kevin just mentioned, as they were working through, they found water damage and things of that nature.
So again, when we put the budget together, we looked at I guess the short answer is no, there's no contingency money sitting aside. We'll have to borrow extra if in fact there's an added cost to this.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, Ryan, you're on.
Okay, thanks. A few things on the radar for tonight. Earlier today, I think you all received an email from Jillian about the neighborhood project update, and I was going to touch on that tonight as well for you and for the community. But really, what we're doing now is reaching out to the community and looking for those ambassadors. And I think you saw that we have 24 applicants. We're hoping to have, when it's all said and done, 35 ambassadors serving all those neighborhoods. Some of the outreach that we've done has been through, in fact, that just went out today, direct mail to 1,600 homes. And those are areas where we think we've, through different surveys and statistics, think we have the hardest time reaching. And so we did a direct mail to those folks. Obviously, we've been on social media, we've done a number of personal asks, much like you received today, asking folks, do you know of anybody who might be interested, or can you point us in the right direction and or introduce us to some folks. And then we've also had some direct contacts at the senior living facilities. And what's been nice there is we've used our contacts that we have from our transportation program to reach out and see if anybody be interested in this program. So we're taking applications through the remainder of this month. And then the Communications Commission will look at those applications and make some decisions from there. And hopefully in November, we'll be full steam ahead with the ambassador program. Another program that the communications department has been working on is I Remember When. It's a storytelling project where they're talking to, asking residents to share their story, their experiences with us. We got some good coverage from KCRG, I think over the weekend, or maybe it was yesterday. And we have 2 recorded videos online right now. If you get a chance, I happened to watch them this afternoon, and they're really good. And they share some thought-provoking stories. And so if you get a chance, I'd encourage you to take a look at those. And if you know of anyone who might be interested in sharing a story, certainly send them our way. This project, Nick reported, doesn't have as much steam right now as the ambassador program, but we're hoping that will pick up here this month. And then I wanted to take a moment to touch base on equity and social justice related issues. And first, I will have an updated written report for you, certainly in the next council packet, but I'm hoping to get it to you before then. Was just putting some work into that today. But I think what you'll see with that report is there's been a lot going on in terms of equity and social justice within our organization, different trainings, different resources being made available to the community, different community outreach, some change in practices. So it should be, I think you'll be at least interested to see the report and see the progress that we continue to make. And I think we've said this early on, this will be a living document and something we'll update regularly and ask for feedback on. And I know if you hear things from the public, you'll share those with us as well. We've had, I have two more points for you tonight. We've had a number of contacts or inquiries about replacing our annual spring cleanup day. And I talked to some of you about this already. We're going to have a proposal for you at the next meeting, 10/27. We're still evaluating options and talking with the landfill on potential ideas, but we'd like to offer some sort of hybrid or option for the community to take advantage or to have access to, some sort of junk cleanup opportunity. It certainly isn't going to be as convenient as what we normally do in the spring. And of course, we're hoping to get back to that in the spring of 21. But at a minimum, we're hoping to at least provide some option for our residents. So more to come on that, and we'll be asking for your consideration on the 27th. And then lastly, regarding water and sewer procedures, you all know that we have went back to our original policies, or at least they'll go into effect in November in terms of water shutoffs and past due accounts. And we've sent letters out to all of our past due account holders, letting them know, giving them advance notice that this is coming up. And we're offering, as I mentioned before, repayment programs for folks who can't pay in full. We're directing them to social service agencies who have programs available. And then the newest program that came out late last week, the Utility Debt Relief Program. It's not necessarily a new program that the state offers, but it's a new component of the program in that water and sewer utilities are now available at least through, I think it's through October or November. So when folks come in, we're directing them that way as well. The intent here isn't to shut anyone off. Our intent is to try to get folks caught back up. There are a handful of people who didn't pay during this time, and so we're just trying to get those folks caught back up. I think to date, things are going pretty smoothly. I overhear the conversations out front from time to time, and I've mentioned to a couple of you, people have been grateful of the fact that we're allowing or offering these payment programs and have been lenient through these tough times. And again, we know folks are still impacted out there, and so we'll do our best to accommodate. So that's what I have tonight. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Questions for Ryan? How did you get off so easy tonight?
Be my charm.
Oh, okay.
He talked a lot.
Okay, thank you. I was hoping somebody'd come back on that. Okay, as far as the mayor report, you should have seen in your packet all the information that was created by Ms. McConville as far as the transportation and committee is concerned. If you have any questions on that, we can talk about that more at a later date. However, the committee is wanted to forward to your attention, and also because of the way that the rules were written as far as the caretaker of the program, we have by mutual agreement with the administration that we will be adding Walmart for everything now. It used to be for prescriptions only, and now we're opening that up. The other thing is also allowing persons who have cards, if they need to pick up a sick kid at school, they can certainly feel free to do so. Also, if they have teacher conferences or other types of conferences at school that they really need to go to as far as their child is concerned, opening that up. So that's the next two steps that we're doing on right now. And Brian, anything you'd like to add on that as far as how the matters are going?
So I think that Angela's doing a really job kind of shepherding that along. And it looks like it's working kind of really how we thought it was, and trying to kind of slowly add things in as we find things that are important for folks. And I think we're making some good headway at that, and we'll see what's coming down the road.
Thank you. Any questions on that? Okay. Now for the magical part of the evening. Fiscal 20 audit presentation. Who is the moderator presenter on that besides Dustin?
Well, Dustin is going to share his screen and share his magic. But I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Okay. This is the first time I've used Zoom. Can you see my screen? It should be a PowerPoint.
We see it.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, my name is Dustin, and I presented last year, so I'm happy to see you all this year and be in front of you and able to present to you this year again remotely. So yeah, I'm the audit lead for the city of North Liberty, and this is my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm just going to keep going until I'm done, but feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions on a particular slide. So the bulk of this presentation is going to come from the communication letter, which should have been sent out in your agenda or your council packets. And most of it will circle around the communication letter, which is going to be the smaller one of the two documents. So I just wanted to walk through our audit process a little bit. So usually in the beginning of July, which is right after your fiscal year ends, I'll read through the minutes for the year, and I'll also call Tracy and kind of get a feel for what happened during the year. And so I use that information to help design our audit procedures as far as what we should focus in on. And then the last week of September typically is when we are doing field work. So this year was a little unique in the fact that we did it remotely. And so props to Tracy and city staff for scanning us things we needed that we normally would have just looked at. And I think it was a lot more legwork on their part, but it went really, really well for it being remotely. So definitely appreciate all their work. So after that's complete, we put together the reports and we send drafts for Ryan and Tracy to look at and review. And then final reports are included in your council packet, and then council presentation, I come present to you. So that's where we're at. So components of the audit. So it's our job as your auditors to give an opinion on the city's financial statements. And so we do give an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion we're allowed to give you. It provides assurance that the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. The Iowa Office of the State Auditor also gives us a checklist of compliance that we are required to complete. So it's looking at specific statutes to make sure you're in compliance and things of that nature. And we did not have any findings related to that. So good news there. So we did identify one internal control finding, and we have it as significant deficiency level. So a significant deficiency is a mid-level finding. It's not as significant as a material weakness, but it is worth noting. And it's the lack of segregation of accounting duties. So it's the same finding that the city has received in previous years and at the same level. So it's just related due to a limited number of office staff. And it's not that we're recommending any changes, but it is something that you should be aware of. And then if you look
Dustin,
at
Dustin,
Yep.
Can I ask Tracy a question here? Tracy, this was listed last year. I know you spoke to it last year. And if I recall, some of the new software that's coming will allow for more segregation. Is that true?
Somewhat. Really and truly, the only way to fix segregation of duties is to have more staff. And we're at a point where we do not need to add staff at this point in time. So the new software will actually slow that process down in needing new staff. So we could have this. We're always looking for ways to segregate more. It's just really difficult with the few staff that we have.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Yep, I would completely agree with everything Tracy said. So, like, I would say 95 to 100% of cities your size receive this finding. So definitely, you're definitely in good company there. Yeah, it's just really tough to do without adding more staff. So yeah, we're not recommending any changes, but it is something for you to be aware of. So as you're looking through your council packets and reviewing disbursements, just be aware that you're kind of part of the internal control processes due to the limited staff. And then in the communication letter, if you go about 3 or 4 pages down, you'll see the required communication. So it's not something I want to spend a ton of time on tonight. It's just things that we are required to communicate to you. And it's pretty boilerplate. So I won't take up any more time with that. So this very first slide looks at the general fund at a very high level. So disbursements exceeded receipts by about 3.5 million. And general fund cash decreased about 1.3 million. So this graph doesn't take into account transfers out, transfers in, or any bond activity. So just wanted you to be aware of that. So the city's fund balance policy kind of has a benchmark of 25% of next year's budgeted revenue in unassigned fund balance. And at the end of 2020, the level was about 45%. So definitely well within the fund balance policy. This looks at the general fund expenditures. So total expenditures increased by about 1.6 million. And a lot of this is just due to the growing nature of the city. As you grow, as your population grows, your expenses are gonna grow. So a big part of this increase was about 860,000 related to the purchase of a pumper truck. But really the rest of it was related, the rest of the increase was related to just growing as a city, hiring new staff, increased garbage and recycling costs, things of that nature. So this slide looks at the revenues by source. And so in total, the revenues stayed pretty consistent, only decreasing about 87,000. But there were some, so if you look at those bars, some of them got significantly larger, some of them got significantly smaller. So the taxes and assessments increased by about 854,000 just as a product of the increased levy. But that increase was offset by a few decreases. So licenses and permits and charges for services decreased due to COVID-19, there was just less activity there. And then intergovernmental revenues decreased as well, just due to the receiving fewer grants during the year. Any questions on the general fund at all? Does that all make sense? Okay. So next we'll look at the enterprise funds. So this is your water, sewer, and stormwater. So this chart looks at the operating income for each fund. So as you can see, the last 3 years, all the operating income for all 3 funds has been positive. So the only one that significantly changed from last year is water, which had an operating income of about 2.1 million, which was an increase of about 469,000 from 2019. So the reason that increased so much was due to increased rates, as well as the well number 5 project finishing in 2019. The other 2 funds stayed pretty consistent for operating income. And finally, the cash position of each enterprise fund. So as you can see, the cash balances have remained pretty consistent from 2018. The blue bar is the sewer, which you can see has increased significantly since 2016. But it's important to have good cash reserves. That way you can, as things break down, you don't have to issue debt for repairs, or you can actually fund some capital activity by just using reserves instead of having to issue debt. So definitely good to keep an eye on this and make sure that you're charging enough for your enterprise funds to make sure your rates are sustainable. And that was all I had. So yeah, I'm Dustin. That's my phone number and my email. Nancy Schulzenberg is the partner on the audit, so that's also her contact information. If you had any questions, comments, concerns, you can reach us any time of the year, really. But yeah. That's what I had. Oops. Stop
Any
Mayor,
questions?
you're on.
Dustin?
Mayor, just more of a comment. So Dustin, thanks for walking us through the report. I think that's helpful for us as the council as well as our citizens watching here. And I think Brent, you brought it up already a little bit, but it was, I think, good to note too, just with the lack of segregation of accounting duties, just that that's a common finding cities of our size. I mean, obviously we don't want that, but right, with the city of our size and the staff we have, just being mindful of that. I think it's helpful too, just for you to make sure we're doing that check and balance too. I know city staff does a great job, but it's a good reminder. So thank you for that.
I will also tell you that state agencies run into the same problem. It's just not cities and counties.
Yeah, that's
There's
absolutely.
something that. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Dustin. Sorry.
I was just gonna say that's absolutely correct. And regardless of what type of entity you are, to have complete segregation, you have to separate all four parts of the transaction, which is really, really tough to do. So even with cities that have full accounting staffs, we still ding them for that because it's really tough with so many different processes to get them all properly segregated.
Brent?
Mayor, something that jumps out again and again on these reports is the deficiency in funds in stormwater management. We've talked a lot about that. I know that staff and yourself have talked a lot about bringing some ideas to council on how we start funding that better. Just something that jumps off the page at me as severely deficient.
I'd just add on that, it's, I don't know that, I certainly don't want to correct you. I don't know that deficient is a good word simply because we still have a fund balance, a fairly substantial fund balance. I think the challenge is, and of course the revenues are much lower than water and sewer. But I think the challenge is we do have more stormwater related expenses. We're going to continue to see those go up, and we do need to start planning for that. Russ is actually working on some GIS data, and we're hoping that after the first of the year, we can bring the city council a proposal to look at. So thanks for bringing that up, Brent. That's something that's certainly on our radar.
Tracy, you want to add anything?
No, it was just an adventure this year. I kept track of the number of emails that Dustin and I exchanged. So it was a record number, I'm sure. So their firm is phenomenal to work with. Dustin's always handy and available if I need anything year round, and is super responsive. So I'm really super happy with how it came out.
I'd like to reiterate again the fact that you did another fantastic job, and always appreciate the council's oversight of this. It is important, but clean audits, you can't argue with them, folks. And it's a clear picture to the public that we're doing well. So with that, we have resolution 2020-79, resolution approving the audit for fiscal year 2020 as completed by Bergen KDV. Anyone wish to establish that resolution?
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Final discussion or questions?
Thanks, Dustin.
Tracy, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Pollock,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Wason.
Aye.
Resolution passes 5 affirmative, none opposed. Thank you for your services, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. See you again next year.
Thank you.
Next item that we have is Greenbelt Trail Subdivision. This will be a resolution 2020-80, a resolution approving the escrow agreement for Greenbelt Trail Subdivision. Anyone have any questions ahead of time on this one? Okay, somebody would please enact that document for me, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Final discussion or questions? Tracy, please.
Wason,
Aye.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Pollock.
Aye.
Resolution passes 5 affirmative, none opposed. Next resolution is number 2020-81. A resolution approving the stormwater management facility maintenance agreement and easement between the City of North Liberty and Greenbelt Trail LLC that establishes the terms and conditions under which stormwater management facilities will be maintained for Greenbelt Trail subdivision in the City of North Liberty, Iowa. Anyone wish to establish that resolution?
So move. So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion or questions?
Mayor, I have a question for Russ. Remind me, is there some sort of schedule that your office has on inspections of the stormwater retentions? Or you try to get through them every 3 years, 5 years? Is there some sort of schedule built in?
Yeah, and internally, we will. So with these, all of these kind of escrow agreements and stormwater management facilities, we'll continue to monitor those.
Mike Wolf with our is our stormwater coordinator, and he has among many different hats he wears. A part of his responsibilities is going and monitoring the various basins that we have throughout town, and so the conditions that are listed in each of these stormwater facilities management agreements, they are agreed to by Mike and then Kevin Trom, based on the kind of basin and the level of care it's going to need, and then we do follow up on our end as we go around and do our kind of our rounds.
Ready to vote? Tracy?
Hoffman,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Pollock,
Aye.
Harrington.
Aye.
Resolution passes 5 affirmative, none opposed. Next is resolution number 2020-82. A resolution approving the final plat and accepting improvements for Greenbelt Trail subdivision, North Liberty, Iowa. Anyone wish to establish that resolution?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion or questions? Tracy, please.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Pollock.
Aye.
Resolution passes 5 affirmative, none opposed. Next is Harvest Estates Part 2, number 2, Part 6. This will be resolution number 2020-83, a resolution approving the stormwater management facility agreement and easement between the City of North Liberty and Greenbelt, no, that should be Harvest
Estates.
Harvest Estates LLC that establishes the terms and conditions under which stormwater management facilities will be maintained for Harvest Estates 2, Part 6 in the City of North Liberty, Iowa. Anyone wish to establish that resolution?
So moved.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion, questions? Tracy, please.
Harrington,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Pollock,
Aye.
Hoffman.
Aye.
Resolution passes 5 affirmative, none opposed. Next, Resolution 2020-84, a resolution approving the final plat and accepting improvements for Harvest Estates 2, Part 6, North Liberty, Iowa. Anyone wish to establish that resolution?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion or questions? Tracy, take roll, please.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Pollock,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Harrington.
Aye.
Resolution passes 5 affirmative, none opposed. Ryan, did I understand from you by both of these added together, that adds about 74 or 75 new single-family residential lots?
Yeah, that's correct. I don't have my memo in front of me, but yeah, that's real close.
So,
78 total.
good, thank you. Item 11, fiscal year 20 annual urban renewal report. This is another Tracyism, so Tracy, lead us forward.
So this is the annual reporting of how TIF revenue has come into the city and how it was expended in fiscal year 20. So it basically shows what rebates we made and what debt payments were made, and it apportions those according to which project was repaid with that debt. In a nutshell.
Any questions on the report? It's just time consuming to put it together. So,
It was interesting to just kind of go over it and see all the projects, though. I think they're all pretty worthwhile. A lot of it is big infrastructure projects, and I think the money was well spent.
yeah, that's really a good observation. A lot of times we don't know all that we do until all of a sudden it's right in front of your face in a report like that. So, been moving ahead. If you have any questions, then I'm going to ask that the council establish a motion to approve that report.
So move, Mayor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Final questions? Tracy, let's take roll if you would, please.
Absolutely. Smith,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Pollock.
Aye.
Motion of acceptance passes 5 affirmative, none opposed. Next on our items is zoning ordinance update. This will be the second consideration of ordinance number 2020-14, an ordinance revising and updating chapters 167 and 169 of the city zoning code to modify certain definitions, permissible accessory building sizes and placement, yard height, and color restrictions, and resolving conflicts between existing setback provisions. Anyone wish to establish the second reading, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Final discussion or question? Tracy, please.
My computer did something funny. Wason,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Pollock,
Aye.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Harrington.
Aye.
Second consideration passes 5 affirmative, none opposed. Next on our list is IT coordinating position. Ryan.
Okay, thank you. Those of you that, I think everybody was here when we did actually the cybersecurity audit. We'll remember that the top priority coming out of that audit was to get an IT person on board to help us manage our internal IT, as well as put together policies and really tighten our belt when it comes to cybersecurity and protecting our infrastructure, our IT infrastructure. So we're asking the city council to approve the position tonight. There's money set aside that this group set aside from the FY19 fund balance. As I noted in the packet, we've made some operational changes at the library, and so this person would also assist them in their some of their more general IT needs, specifically when it comes to, for example, helping someone learn how to use an iPad, or someone who might struggle with Zoom needing some guidance, those types of service calls, I guess I'll say. And I asked Jenny Garner to be here tonight, and she is available if there are questions on how that might fit into the overall position. But we're seeking approval. We'd like to start advertising here shortly so that we can get this position on hopefully sometime in the first quarter of 2021.
Jenny, any comments you'd like to make?
Can you guys hear me? I'm on a new different computer than I normally would be.
We don't see your shining face, but we'll take your voice.
No, my camera is not working on this computer. No, I don't think so. We've just transitioned enough where, and really this position will help with the connection with IT, with the networking end of things more too. As the library's grown and the networking has become more challenging, it was just a more difficult thing to, and not a constant thing that we needed to be able to keep up with. Since IT's or the whole network is a little more intricate with trying to provide services to patrons and that backdoor on our side of the staff networking. So this position will help support those folks and help support our staff with the network needs and with desktop needs. And then Janet has transitioned into a more frontline role, who was our IT technology person. Just as we've discussed this with her, she would need to go back to school for a full degree in order to keep up with the networking that only requires just a few hours, a month maybe. So this is a really good opportunity for us to have someone in-house that can help with those things and then still also work with the city as a whole.
Thanks, Jenny. Questions from the group?
Mayor, I have a few if I could.
Go ahead.
For Ryan or Jenny. So where will the person's office be housed? What's the total package, salary, cost? Who's that person reporting to? And then is there a staff vehicle need that's going to be an additional need, or do you have a vehicle available?
Okay. I'll take a shot at those. The position will actually be housed in the library. We have an open office there, and they'll have access then to that whole facility quite easily. The budget number we have right now, and it'll vary depending on if this person has family health insurance versus single health insurance, but the max dollar we see is about $100,000. That includes salary, insurance, FICA, Medicare, all those related costs. I think I mentioned that the salary range is 63 to 94. And so obviously we'll hope to start someone, certainly not at the top, but more in the middle. And a lot of that'll depend on experience. And then, I'm sorry, the vehicle, we do not have at this point a vehicle specifically for this position. Oftentimes, I know they have extra vehicles over at the community center when folks have to run different places. I don't anticipate this being a problem. And a lot of times we use hand-me-downs from another department as well. So I think we'll be okay there. If they need to travel out of town, oftentimes we suggest they use their own vehicle anyway, and then we repay them for mileage. So. And the out-of-town
And then
travel
who,
for conferences or something like that.
who's the person reporting to in the chain?
Okay, so yeah, that's one I forgot. Thank you. As it's noted in the job description there, this position will report to Tracy primarily as the assistant city administrator. But when that person is at the library doing specific library things, they'll report to Jenny. We have a similar situation set up with our HR assistant and legal assistant. And that's really, in my opinion, and Grant can chime in here too, but that's really worked well over the years. It requires solid communication between those two department heads. And we've seen that so far, and I don't anticipate anything being any different here. So I'm hopeful that it'll work out really well.
Thank you.
Other questions, discussion, please. Annie?
2 questions. Following up on that last one, Ryan, that Brent asked, is that because the time split is really 80% more citywide IT functions and 20% more specific library?
That's correct. And admittedly, we're, as if we get into this and realize, hey, it's only 10% library, or maybe it's 100% city, and we need to make some adjustments, we will. So I think we're all going into this with eyes wide open, knowing that if we have to make some adjustments on the fly, we will. But to your point, yes, that's exactly why they'll report depending on where they're at or what they're doing.
Okay, 2 more questions. One, so with this too, has Nick and the communications team been brought into the discussion as well?
Yes, he was actually he helped develop the job description, and has been involved as we've talked through some of these cyber security recommendations. He's been involved and looking forward actually to have someone who can take the lead on this.
Great. And then lastly, what's, from either your perspective, Tracy's or Jenny's, what's the risk if we don't approve this tonight?
Well, I'll take a shot at that first. And I mentioned this to a few of you. And in addition to having this audit, I've sat through numerous cybersecurity trainings and seminars in the last 2 years. Most recently, a couple weeks ago at the International City Managers Conference. And small and mid-sized local governments are extremely I'm sorry, what's the word, Tracy? Vulnerable. Thank you. Right now. And we need to, my concern is that, we'll get a ransomware, get hit somewhere, and it'll take us out. And I'm not saying this, I don't want you to think that this person coming in, that will never happen. I mean, these folks are tricky, and I mean, you have folks taking down the whole city of Atlanta, costing them millions of dollars. I mean, it's scary stuff out there, but I think this is one step in the right direction where we can at least help prevent that. So I certainly don't want to, the sky is not falling, but I think if we don't do this, we will continue to be at more and more risk every day.
Thanks,
Ryan, one thing that I would probably mention also would be the loss of productivity to staff across the entire city. When you have IT issues, when systems are down, when you're not sure what to do, there's a lot of lost time there. So I see a fair amount of this position being reimbursed in that way in cutting down the lost productivity for staff.
Good point.
Yeah, that's a good point. Ryan, the only question I had was about the job description itself, and you guys have probably talked about this, but is there any benefit besides having the degree or the experience? Is there any benefit, or are there certifications out there that would be most helpful, dare I say required as for an applicant? Or did you guys kind of on purpose leave that open-ended because of the scope of things that they'll be doing here at the city?
Yeah, we thought, well, our hope is that we'll get someone who has some of those certifications already. And frankly, we're not all that familiar, at least the several of us that worked on what certifications are out there and will be required. And so we're hopeful as this person gets into that position, they'll come to us and say, well, here's what we think, I need to beef up on this, or this would be a good seminar to go to. And so I think we've mentioned that in there a couple of times, that we expect this person to go to conferences and to be well read on these IT issues and know what they are going to need to do for us. It'll be a learning curve, certainly, but that's why we didn't list anything specific in this. And I should note we compared this to other local government IT positions and as well, and this is what we came up with.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Can I jump in and just say, we need a generalist rather than somebody that's got specific things at this point in time. We need someone that can come in and address a lot of things. And I also want to give kudos to the City of Marion's IT department. They helped us tremendously through this whole process. So, and I think they need that shout out.
Brian?
I think that, this is good insurance. They recently had a whole health system taken out by somebody who took their whole computer system down, and they were offline for, a week, going back to things that they didn't even know how to do anymore because they didn't have nobody had remembered how to use a piece of paper. I think we probably have, hundreds of, computers in the city that are going to need to take care of, and watching over them. Somebody needs to do that in a more organized fashion. So I think that this is a very needed position.
Other comments? Discussion? If not, what I'm asking from the council this evening is to approve accepting the recommendations of the staff, authorize and accept the job description, and authorize the hiring of this individual. I'd like to do that in just a term of a motion, if you would, please.
Let's do this. A second.
Moved and seconded. Any other comments or questions? Tracy, would you take roll, please, for me?
Absolutely. Wason,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Pollock,
Aye.
Hoffman.
Aye.
Motion passes 5 affirmative, none opposed. So there you go.
Thank you.
You bet. Old business.
I just want to point out from the packet Ryan put in at the very end, if you guys could take a look at the transit study that the MPO received back. We were just notified that we got that at our MPO meeting last month or a few weeks ago, and I'm sure it will be more of a discussion for us here coming up at our next meeting here in just a couple of weeks. So if you could please, I believe it's section 4. There were a lot of questions that I had anyway that you might want to highlight, but if you could run through that and then let Terry or I know of your thoughts or questions before our next meeting.
Thank you for that.
Thanks, Chris. Mayor, I have one thing.
Sure.
So just want to thank publicly Guy and his whole team and everyone who made it possible. Redfern Dog Park, there are a lot of happy people and a lot of happy dogs out there. So just kudos to everyone who helped make that happen.
Any other old business? New business?
Mayor, if you could, I have a couple of things. I'll make this as brief as I can. I wanted to update on a couple of things on Project Better Together. It's been a couple of meetings since Ryan or I have discussed some of the good things coming out of that team. You can visit their website at the letter C, areatogether.com, icareatogether.com. This has been a a very fruitful endeavor for our city. We've seen a number of things come about that have helped our citizens here. I'll just briefly mention a few of them. We have a number of neighborhood nests. These are nurturing every student together safely. This is to address some of the gaps that parents found in the Iowa City Community School District's Return to Learn plan. And Ryan, how many nest sites do we have now in town? Do you recall? You're muted, Ryan.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I believe we have at least 2 right now, and then I just met with Jennifer Banta last week, and they're working on a couple more. And in fact, I talked to Shelley and Jenny this week, and they're involved in those as well. So that's where we're at with those.
So this helps address some big concerns with childcare, before and after school types of programming, education, and resource access to families and students in need. So this has been a really good program. Other things the group has been working on, they've constructed a list of Iowa City area Black and Brown owned businesses. You can see a list on that website to visit those local businesses. They've done some face covering signage for businesses. They've tackled some affordable housing types of issues. We did the pop-up service center here in North Liberty, where a number of city staff and myself volunteered for an evening, and a number of other things. So just encourage folks to visit that website again, icareatogether.com. And then I want to send a few thank yous, Mayor. I want to thank Mike O'Neill from the City of Cedar Rapids Parks Department, along with Mount Mercy College. Our staff, like to name Guy and his park staff, Brian Motley, and the recreation staff specifically, for all of those individuals partnering to bring what is typically Cedar Rapids fall baseball to North Liberty. Their fields up in Cedar Rapids were devastated with the derecho. North Liberty welcomed them with open arms. We did have some stringent safety policies for COVID in place, as we should have, and they met all of those. And we've seen a lot of additional business come on the weekends from that event. It's been a safe fall baseball schedule for them, and we certainly want to thank everyone for coming down and patronizing our businesses. I know there's been a lot more ice cream bought across the street as these games have gone on. I also want to thank Acting Superintendent Degner and Mr. Kibbe, the Iowa City Community School District, this week for working with me to assure some access for some Heritage Christian school kids here in North Liberty to all of the school district's open enrollment programs during COVID. Open enrollment issues with students, not just Heritage, but homeschooled students also that would typically get open enrolled. We're kind of held back a little bit with the COVID A and B cohort situation. That's been a really hard thing for the district, and want to thank them for working with us on getting access for our North Liberty kids. Thanks for the time, Mayor.
You bet. Anything else? Just to remind, there's early voting at the North Liberty Library this weekend, Saturday from 11 to 3 and Sunday 1 to 3. I think those are the times you have to check the thing, but it is this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So you want to take the opportunity to go vote, that might be a good time. If there's nothing else from you folk, we are adjourned. Enjoy the rest of your